Hello, thank you for joining us for the concluding part of wealth creation. And my guest is still Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo. That is the senior pastor of KICC, the CEO, Meridian Properties, and the CEO, Meridian Farms. He's also the CEO of KICC TV London, the president, KICC Worldwide, Chancellor, King's University, Odeomo, Osun State. And in the university, the first 95 students are on scholarship. And his foundation caters for 10,000 clothes, feeds 10,000 widows, and gives a scholarship to their children. He's also written 100 books, and he speaks from city to city, from continent to continent. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. Pastor, thank you once again for coming to empower us with information.
My pleasure.
We left up the first episode when we were talking about the rules.
The laws of wealth creation.
Yes. We talked about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I was talking about the irrevocable laws of wealth creation. And that word irrevocable needs to be noticed.
Yes.
That they cannot be revoked. It's just the law. If you break these laws of wealth creation, you will have challenge. And the first one I mentioned is entrepreneurship. Not that there are no people who make some good money through salaries, but the fastest, greatest, best way to create wealth is to have your own entrepreneurship, your own entrepreneur, your own business. It is the most major way than through salary. That is the frankest truth. It's a hurtful truth. But in Nigeria today, including the CEO of banks, there is no employed person on a salary of $1 million. None. In fact, the federal ministers, according to the Gazette published by the federal government, our federal ministers are on a salary of 2,026,000 naira. I know there are other emoluments that go with it. And so that law of entrepreneurship says, if you own your own enterprise, you can do several things. That's why you find, for example, in Lagos, the building industry is huge. And guess who is building it? Baba Sikira, Baba Mulika, Baba Muiba. There are other laws. There are 33 of them. I'll just quote 2 or 3 more. There is number 2, the law of creative mentorship. Creative mentorship basically says, if UD succeeded in an area, maybe I should go to UD and say, look, don't pay me salary for 3 months, for 6 months. Let me understudy you. I'm made to understand that Harvard University had come to Eastern Nigeria to study the apprenticeship system that the Igbo person practices. There is no other reason for the explosion of business in the eastern part of Nigeria other than the fact of creative mentorship. A boy leaves secondary school, he tells his parent, I don't want to go to school. I want to do business. So they send him to an uncle where he works for 6 months understudying, and at the end of 6 months, that one opens a shop for him. He knows how to bargain. All the things people read, the amazing thing is that until recently, global universities had no degree on entrepreneurship. Until the past probably 20 years, all the degrees were on how to manage other people's business. It is called MBA, Masters in Business Administration. You administer for others. But creative mentorship basically means find the person who is succeeding, study them, look at their life, see what made them. I had the privilege of flying first class. I mean, in the same cabin with Aliko Dangote. It was a flight to London. We left 11 p.m., 14 people in that cabin. And I must say he was the last to sleep. And he was studying his notes for the meeting he was going for in London. I think at that time his personal worth was something like over $5 billion. All the guys who are millionaires around him, some of them not only were they sleeping, they were shaking the plane with their breathing. But this man was studying the notes for whatever meeting he was going to. It was Saturday night. Me, I had to sleep because tomorrow morning I have 5 services to preach. But even when I woke 2 a.m., he was still studying his notes. I tell you, that beats the biscuits for me. It just made me to now understand. Some people will try to bring a flagellation against a person, try to put down. But when you see certain indications, you know how and why they made it. Creative mentorship. 3, the law of branding. You are a brand. Your name is a brand. Protect your name. If you are called to be a plumber, be the best plumber. So that when you finish the work, I will tell my friend, you need a plumber, this is the person. And I say that because I had a bad plumber, who he finished working in my house, you flush in this room, and you went to another room and saw what you flushed. Now you're wondering, how did this happen? You have a brand. It's a bad habit for Nigerians when we sell bad things and feel, well, I've done the service. Your name is major. The Bible says a good name is worth more than silver and gold. Then the law of time management. You will never meet a wealthy person who does not manage time. You will never meet a poor person who knows how to manage time. In fact, when they are 20 minutes late, it's only 20 minutes. And they don't realize that. You want to know my true value, Matthew Ashimolo? For you to know my true value, I work 2,000 hours a year. You have to divide the income of our church and my business by 2,000. Then you know the value of my 1 hour. So when I give you 1 hour or 30 minutes, I've given you thousands of pounds. That's how people who create wealth think. They think in the value of time, not in the volume of time. There are other laws like the law of harness. What is the law of harness? Harness is basically putting pressure on anything until it gives you the fullness of what it has. For several years, until 1959, we were dancing on top of the ground in Oloibiri. We didn't know there was oil inside. But then when the oil was brought up, we didn't even know that this thing called crude oil is crude because inside that oil, there are more than 12 things. There's petroleum, there's diesel, there's black oil, there's kerosene, there is paraffin, there is aviation fuel, there's polymer. Polymer is what you use to make up plastics. In fact, that itself was discovered by mistake. Somebody was trying to extract something from crude oil, and by mistake, he discovered plastic, and plastic has taken over from rubber. So you hardly find rubber on earth. So the law of harness. Everything given to man by God is in germ form. You've got to harness, put pressure on it. For example, you will not believe it. Palm oil was taken from Nigeria. Some seed was taken to Malaysia. And today they are the biggest exporters. And we are now importing. Whereas if you take the palm tree, it's amazing when the Bible says a righteous man will flourish like a palm tree. Because from head to toe, every part of a palm tree can be harnessed. So harness your gifting, multitask, do several things at the same time. Harness your hours. If you work 9 to 5, harness your hours. If you say, but I'm caught in traffic all the time, turn your car to a school. Don't just be listening to some radio stations. Get some CD. Get some school online that have audio classrooms that you can be listening. And by the time you drive from 3rd Mainland Bridge to your house in Abule Egba, you've finished all the audio material for that day. You are ready to take harnessing.
Hold the thought. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Most people will say, with this recession, how can I increase my ability to create wealth?
I think the first thing is to seek for light. when you seek for better information than what you had before, it enlightens your mind. One of the challenges with many people is that if a seminar is being run on wealth creation, they will not go there. Rather, they are looking for fast ways. And there's a lot of Ponzi scheme going on in Nigeria. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention some of them, but I just think the day is coming when the bubble will burst. And number one, you need to seek for information. You need to look for wealth creation seminars. You can tell if the whole intent of the people is to seek for your money, because they'll be promising you things that don't make sense. Then number two thing to do is to look for where things are beginning to work in your nation. Take, for example, Nigeria is putting a lot of emphasis on farming right now. And for some people who live in the city, they are thinking, this farming thing, then they shout, self. Who get time? And they don't realize, if I tell you what you can do with $500,000 on palm oil business, you'll be in shocks. NIFO, Nigeria Institute for Oil Palm Research in Benin, sells a palm tree seedling that have just germinated, and you just buy it from them and you plant. They sell it for only 200 naira. So with 1 million naira, you can buy 3,000 trees, or probably almost more than that. I say it because when they were still selling it 150 naira, I bought 3,334.
So, Pastor, I have
a palm farm. And we planted 3,334. All I did was plant it, hire 4 guys, and I'm paying them monthly salary to keep cleaning around the trees. Of course, the only challenge with palm tree seedling is that grass cutter, likes to eat the seed, the root. So you need to put like a mesh around it. So you don't need to go for 3,300 like I did. If you only bought 50, have you watched all those Nollywood films? You see families killing themselves. He went to our palm tree. How many be the palm tree? Now only 4 days for the farm. Whereas, so this is just one idea. Imagine if somebody just drove out of Lagos and go as far as Shagamu and buys acres for only probably, let's just say even they charge you 300,000 naira for an acre of land somewhere near Shagamu. And then you went to Benin. You bought enough to put in 1 acre because you planted something like 2-3 meters apart because of when they spread their hand, 2-3 meters apart. On 1 acre, you will plant no less than 40. Do you know what happens? It begins to produce in 4 years. In fact, we planted mine 3 years ago. Suddenly, just a couple of weeks ago, my brother called me and said, this thing has started bearing fruit. We need to have plan for the harvest has overtaken my thinking.
Yes.
And with the size that we have there, it means we have to probably set a proper industry for pressing out the oil. And it's not just the oil. You sell the kernel, you sell the seed, you sell several things.
So somebody watching now says, I don't have money to buy land. I probably don't have enough to get the palm seedlings like this. Could you mention some of the kinds of businesses that one can do if you don't have an income?
Okay, the first thing I would suggest, no matter what you do, you need to create a medium for managing what you are doing. I wrote a book called 30 Reasons Why You Should Own Your Own Company. And inside that book, I also gave some ideas. Number one, don't resign from your full-time job. Don't resign. But your spare hours, look for somewhere else where you can make residual income. Caterers in town who are looking for people to help serve, don't look at the fact that, my school friends will see me say I'm serving at a do. They are paying you money. That's residual income. And sometimes those kind of jobs provide more than your regular salary. And when that money comes, don't spend it. Keep it for some time. When you now keep it for some time, then look for what can increase the money. I don't want to talk about stocks and shares because there is a lot of challenge in the nation on that. There are experts on it. I am not exactly a great fan because I lost money, loads of money in that.
So you bought shares.
Oh Lord Jesus, have mercy. It wasn't my exact area, but somebody preached it to me, and I wish I didn't listen to them. But do you know that with that residual money, you can find, and thank God for the governor of Lagos State and the governor of Ogun State who have passed law on these Omonile who are giving trouble. Go far, buy a plot, keep it, start farming on it, even if you don't have money for CO. So number one, I said start a company. And when I say start a company, it will cost you to have a limited liability company. Please do. Don't do an enterprises. Enterprises is not a company because the Nigerian tax law is becoming stronger. And if money is in your enterprises, it is still seen as your money. But if it is in a limited liability company, the money in the company is company. The money in your pocket is your pocket. And that's a whole teaching in itself on how to use your company to protect your income, because it's not enough to create wealth. With all due respect to our governments, but all governments around the world are Indiana Jones and raiders of the cookie jar. They like to raid your income and take it. They tax you 4 times. When you earn your salary, they tax you. When you put it in your bank, I'm sure you see tax there. When you go to spend, VAT.
Yes.
And when you die, if you own building with your full name on it, Matthew Abiodun Daolubumi Ashimalo, they will come to ask for inheritance tax. They will tell your children, you sell it or you don't sell it, this house is worth 10 million, give us 25%. But if you own a company, you can put the houses in the company. It cannot be touched.
Pastor, hold the thoughts. Hold the thoughts. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are talking about wealth creation. How do you create wealth? The process. And my guest is still Pastor Matthew Ashimalo. Well, Pastor, in this remaining moments, could you talk us through bullet points, some of the issues you have raised, in case somebody missed a part 1 and is able to just watch this final segment? Just talk us through some process that would help who is just watching for the first time.
Firstly, if a person is watching and they say, why a pastor? Mm-hmm. Can't he talk on prayer? Let me start from there.
Okay.
There are 2,000 scriptures on finance, economics, and only 500 on prayer. Jesus gave 37 parables, and 23 had to do with finance. That's 61% of the stories of Jesus had to do with finance. So it is a major teaching in the scriptures, but unfortunately in the past, we were badly taught because of the fear of it controlling us. The second reason why wealth creation is a necessity is because if I work, I can pay my bills and look okay and take care of my family. But I need to create wealth because I have children whom I have visions for. Then I don't only have children whom I have visions for. I want to create multi-generational blessing. Right now I have 2 grandchildren, and I don't want them to go through what I went through or what their parent ever experienced. Only one of my children went through private school all his life. First one didn't. I didn't have the money. So wealth creation creates benefit for coming generations. But then beyond that, you are able to touch the world. You are able to help people. Wealth creation helps you to touch lives. It helps you to have also a quality of life for yourself. You cannot detach a better life, a healthier life from wealth. Because if you go to the doctors They say, this one for malaria, not 2 naira. But then there's this one. It will not only cure the current malaria in your body, it will create an antihistamine against malaria, now 50 naira. So one is 2, one is 50. It increases your quality of life. It helps you to touch people. It helps you to give your children a future. And if you are like me as a Christian, it helps you to sponsor the gospel. I was preaching in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and my host told me a story. How one of his members said, oh, Bishop, I want to sponsor a Reinhard Bonnke crusade in Africa. Here is $1 million. If it's not enough, let me know. They called Reinhard Bonnke's office. Incidentally, they were coming to Oshogbo, not far from my hometown. And they told the man it would cost $750,000. The man said, keep the change for the next crusade. You are able to touch lives. You are able to give people hope in a hopeless world. You are able to help people find their eternity. These are reasons for wealth creation.
And Pastor, while researching on you to invite you to come to this Empower Us with Information on Wealth Creation, I hear you don't draw salary from the church.
Yes.
And somebody watching could say, oh, he's able to do these things because he gets tithes, he gets offerings.
I truly don't draw salary from KICC. KICC doesn't do anything for me. The only thing they do is I'm entitled when I leave London to come back twice. They pay for that, even though I'm always in church every Sunday. So yes. 2 of my flights. Apart from that, they don't do anything. But by the grace of God, even within the Christian world, there are A-list speakers, there are B-list speakers, there are C-list speakers. The global platform God has given me is such that I wouldn't say this is how much you should give me, but there's something called honorarium. So I am honored to the B level.
As a grade A.
I don't know. Then number 2, you mentioned that I have a farm.
Yes.
By the grace of God, it looks like our Ofada rice farm is the largest in Nigeria with about 150 acres of Ofada rice. And then you mentioned that I've written books. I've written 100 books. And some years, I sell no less than between 10 and 15 million naira of books. And I only have one stomach. And my sons have grown and left home. So now, matter of fact, I use most of it to pay other people's kids' school fees, like the kids in King's University. 40% of the scholarship came from me and my wife. And these widows thing. So I don't earn salary from the church. I don't get any tithe from the church. I don't get anything from the church but my speaking engagements, my books, and my business. My real estate, we own lands here and there, but we have not yet sold. Of course, we have 1 or 2 buildings where we have tenants. And they are not bad tenants.
Somebody look at it and say, this pastor is really a businessman.
Well, that's one thing I discovered. From the age of 14, I started hawking bread and hawking granola.
Yes.
This patch in the middle of my head
has compensated you.
It's a sign of having sold bread on the street of Zaria and Kaduna and Kano.
Pastor, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I am humbled. And I must apologize that we kept you here.
Not a problem.
We'll look forward to you coming
and next time, I'll just charge you for the extra time.
Okay, but since you don't earn salary from the church. Pastor, thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Viewers, I'm sure you've been so empowered with information. So go out there and create wealth. Because once you create wealth, there's so much you can do. But don't forget what Pastor said. Your habits, your attitudes, your actions, and your belief system. All these are some of the characteristics that will help you, enable you to create wealth and sustain it. Until I come your way another time, my name is Yudi, and this is My Factor. Goodbye, and God bless.